What's percolating YouTube? It's your boy, Shaka Antoine, and today we're going to be talking with you guys about how I pick plugs to fish with. Alright, now these are the things basically running through my mind when I'm at a show, or rather if I'm online on a company's website, or if I'm in a tackle shop. And my focus is to pick up a plug for the day. And there are 5 characteristics about a plug that's running through my mind as I'm looking at it, that's going to basically make me want to buy it or not. Alright, well, the first thing is going to be this. What bait does the plug best mimic? Alright, these fish that we're catching, they're obviously keyed in on a specific bait, and they hit our plugs because they believe that our plugs was an intended bait. Right? So this is one of the major things that I'm looking at when I'm considering getting a plug. There is one plug in particular that just came out that nobody has fished yet, but that it just goes along with that first characteristic that caught my attention, and I'm going to show you what that is and explain to you why I picked this particular plug. All right, and that plug is this here. It's the ODM Hybrix Popper, 7.2 inches and 2.5 ounce. Now I picked this plug for 4 reasons. 3 I'll get into now, and the 4th one I'll get into a little bit later. This plug here, they said that it will mimic whiting on the surface.
Really?
And it does that through these chambers. And see if that comes through. Yeah, see those chambers in the cup? When you straight retrieve it, or if you swim it, water goes through those holes and it creates a bubble trail. Whiting do that in a particular spot that I like to fish. And you know, I don't have any plugs that mimic whiting, so when I heard that attribute of this plug, it got me really excited, and I really just wanted to look into it. You know, the other thing about this particular plug that really made me jump on it was that I have a special liking to Polaris poppers. You know, this poppers that have that type of a head on it. Those that know me specifically know why. So the fact that it's a Polaris popper, it struck my interest, and also number 3, why the third reason why is because they say that it can also be fished as a pencil, and that's versatility. I love plugs that are versatile. You don't have to just fish it in one particular condition. You can use it as a Polaris popper and a pencil popper, you know. And the 4th reason I'll get into on my 4th characteristic of a plug that I'm considering. Right, so let's go on to number 2. The second characteristic is, what conditions will it excel in? All right, as I just mentioned, you know, there are certain conditions that I fish that one plug in particular will just excel in versus another. You know, what comes to mind is the Super Strike bottle. That's a rough water plug, and I fish a lot of rough water conditions. And you know, when I want to have a nice size bait, larger bait, rough water conditions, then you know, I'll go definitely for the Super Strike bottle. But that's one thing I'm considering. You know, you should be able to tell by its features what conditions should I be able to fish this plug in. All right, moving on to number 3. Does the color pattern / shade fit the conditions I fish? Yes, I am one of the fishermen that does not pay too much attention to the color of a plug. However, what I do focus on is the color pattern and the shade of a plug. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you look at any bait fish, they're not monotone. They don't have just one color throughout their bodies. What you'll typically find is a darker color on top with a lighter color on the bottom, on their belly. And if they have any shading or any other colors along their lateral line, there's probably going to be a blend. That to me is a color pattern, not necessarily a color. Right? which also lends to shading. Now, in terms of the conditions that I fish in, like say for instance, if you have a cloudy day, cloudy night rather, and you're fishing a place that has the city lights, they're kind of like amber, orange color, copper color lights, and if those lights are reflecting off the clouds, then that's an amber background, so to speak. So plugs that are in that orange, yellow shade or color pattern, those plugs are going to look a little more natural to the bass or to the fish, because just not the stripers that we fish for. So those plugs are going to excel with their color patterns in those conditions, those lighting conditions. So depending upon what lighting is present, will also determine the shade of plug that I'm going for. All right. Now moving on to the next characteristics that I'm considering while I'm looking for a plug is the fourth one is the hardware it came with, and will I need to modify it. Now I am going to reference this ODM popper because the fourth reason why I picked up this plug is the hardware. If you look at the hardware that they delivered on this plug, this is again another plug that I will not have to modify, which I can appreciate that, as much as I love to modify plugs. But this hardware is beefy. You understand me? And I love that. I don't have to be trying to pick up some split rings or some hooks that I think will be a better fit for catching these big fish. They delivered it with it, so hats off. I'm not touching those hooks, I'm not touching those split rings, and there's something else. It's the fourth thing that I consider when I'm looking at a potential plug to pick up.
I hear you.
Last item, characteristic that I look for in a plug is going to be what fish will I use it for? Yes, I primarily fish for striped bass. However, it is not the only fish that I fish for. My father raised us blue fishing. Blue fishing is dear to my heart and always will be. But there are some plugs that, unfortunately, can be deemed a bluefish plug. One plug in particular is a surface tension lure. Now, because of to get the action, that dancing action, you have to retrieve that plug at a considerable speed. Now, not too many stripers are going to be going after a plug dancing across the surface erratically as fast as that particular plug. So that effectively makes it a bluefish plug. So when I am looking at a plug, I'm trying to see, okay, what action do I need to impart on it or imply to it in order to catch the fish? If it's anything with a too fast of a retrieve, then that's probably something a striper wouldn't hit. Now, yes, I have caught 2 rats on the surface tension lure, but again, 2 versus the many of bluefish that I caught on that thing. Bluefish love that lure. They love the sound and the speed and the action that it skips across the surface. And not too many of them cows are going to be going after an erratic plug skipping across the surface. That's typically a bluefish thing or a pelagic fish thing.
True.
Those guys in Costa Rica, they use those things on rooster fish and such. That's a rush. I'll have to take care. I have to do one of those trips one day. All right, so those are the 5 things that are going through my mind when I'm looking at a plug. And keeping true to those things. And like I said, I try to have a tactical approach to picking plugs. And it's one of the reasons why I do not own a plug that has a team theme to it, because to me those are for the collectors, and I'm not knocking you guys that collect or flip. I fish plugs, so if I bought it, these are one of the 5 reasons, or if not all of them, why I decided to purchase the plug. Now,
Facts.
These metal lip swimmers behind me here, these are the plugs that I picked up with these things in mind. So what I would like to do at this time is basically just give you an overlook, just walk through the thought process of why or what bait that I felt it represented. Okay, so let's take a look.
Okay guys, these are the metal lip swimmers that I picked up, and right now I just want to go over basically what baits that I feel that they best represent and how I fish them, or where and when. Alright, we're going to start off with this Lights Out Lures Deep Diving Pikey. It's a bunker pattern, of course. Alright, now this plug here, it weighs about 4.75 ounces. Alright, so that means that I basically will only fish this plug when I know that there are cows around or a very large bunker, and I'm fishing in water that is greater than 10 feet because it dives very deep. Alright, now this one here is a Tsunami Danny. Alright, and I typically will throw this one when I know that there are not adult bunker but junior bunker around. If they're not as big but you know, they're sizable, I will definitely throw this one. It swims very nice and I've caught plenty of fish with it. The next one is the CCW Peanut. Okay, and I specifically got this one for when the situation or conditions are clear water and there's a lot of algae on the bottom, or if I know that there was a recent large algae bloom. And I've done pretty well with that. The next one here is a Gibbs Danny. Right, and I got this one here because I wanted a swimmer that best represents herring. You know, herring has that white kind of silverish color or pattern to them, and I feel that one represents that very well. This next beauty here is made by Dave Anderson, and can you guess what bait I felt this represents? Baby weakfish. That's right. I feel like it fits the profile perfectly. The shading and the color pattern is excellent, and it also points towards that point I was making earlier about the gold background with the city lights off the clouds. It fits that scenario naturally, perfectly. Alright, now this next swimmer here is my first one. It's a D-Mag 2015 mullet. Alright, it's the first one I've ever bought, and I will typically be throwing this in the fall when the mullet are in the wash. Swims very nice, and I've caught plenty of fish on that one. Okay, now that basically wraps up my metal lip swimmers here. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share my videos, and I would like you to have a great day, and God bless.